hear that sound? It's Red's harmonica. Melancholy. Tired. It's the sound of a man sitting in a prison yard, staring at walls that never change. Now imagine spending 40 years listening to that same sound. The same walls, the same bars, the same day, repeated until you can no longer remember who you were before you came here. This is Shawshank. And there is something within those walls that is more dangerous than any guard, any corrupt director, any violence in the yard. Something invisible that kills you from the inside while your body is still breathing. The death of hope. Today I want to talk about a dangerous word. 4 letters that can keep you alive or kill you. Hope. But here's the problem. We've completely misunderstood hope. Red said it better than I ever could. Hope is a dangerous thing. Hope can drive a man mad. And he was right. But not for the reasons you think. There's a huge difference between 2 things that we confuse all the time. Optimism, it's passively waiting for things to get better. It's sitting in your cell and dreaming of the day the doors will open by themselves. It's a fantasy. It's like that guy who plays the lottery every week, thinking he's going to be a millionaire. It's dangerous because it keeps you stuck, waiting for a miracle that never comes. Hope, true hope, is completely different. Hope is the active discipline of working towards a better future, even without any guarantee that you will succeed. Hope is picking up a small rock hammer and starting to dig, knowing it might take 20 years. Hope is writing a letter a week for 6 years to people who never reply. Hope hurts because it demands action. It demands that you risk being destroyed every day. The Shawshank Redemption is not a film about an innocent man escaping from prison. It's a philosophical treatise on how hope functions as a psychological weapon against any system that wants to keep you in your place. And I'll prove it to you using 3 people: a man who lost hope and died, a man who chose hope and lived, and a man who spent 50 years learning the difference between the 2. Let's start with the tragedy, because before you understand what hope can build, you need to see what its absence destroys. I always thought Brooks' story was the saddest part of the movie, and here's why. Brooks Hatlen spent 50 years in Shawshank, half a century. He went in young and came out old. And when he finally got the freedom he should have prayed for every night, he didn't want it anymore. Worse, he was afraid of her. This is called institutionalization. And it's terrifying because it's not dramatic, it's not violent, it's silent. Stephen King, who wrote the original story, Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption, drew inspiration from a real event. Prisoners who spend decades within a system don't just get used to it. They are rebuilt by him. The prison walls don't just surround them, they within from them. Brooks entered Shawshank in 1905. He left in 1954. Think about that. He entered when cars were rare. He left when the world had televisions, commercial airplanes, atomic bombs. Everything had changed, except Brooks. Brooks had stopped in time. When he goes out, he can't cross the street alone because the cars go too fast. He can't pack groceries without asking permission for every move because he spent 50 years being supervised. He can't make a single decision without someone telling him what to do. And here's the part that destroys me. Brooks didn't lose hope in one dramatic moment. No one violently took it from him. He lost hope so slowly, so gradually, that he didn't even realize it was slipping away. Day after day, year after year, prison taught Brooks that the outside world was no longer his, that he no longer had a place in it, that his only real identity was the librarian of Shawshank. Now, before you think, well, I'll never be arrested, let me ask you a question. Have you ever Felt trapped in a job you hate, but are too afraid to leave because at least you have a guaranteed salary? Have you ever stayed in a toxic relationship because the idea of starting over seemed more frightening than staying? Have you ever had a big dream? Writing a book, starting a business, changing careers, that you abandoned because the people around you convinced you it was impossible or irresponsible? So you know exactly how Brooks felt. Institutionalization doesn't only happen in prisons. It happens anywhere you let fear replace action, where you trade what could be for what is safe and familiar, where you wake up one day and realize you're no longer living. You're just following a routine that other people have defined for you. Brooks had a bird named Jake, a crow he found injured and healed. He cared for this bird with all the love he had left. And when the time came to release Jake, when the bird was strong enough to fly, Brooks almost couldn't bring himself to do it. Why? Because releasing Jake meant admitting a terrible truth. Living things weren't made to live in cages, not even comfortable cages, even when you get used to them. But Brooks was unable to apply that lesson to himself. Red says something devastating at his funeral. These walls are funny. First you hate them, then you get used to them. Enough time passes, and you start to depend on them. That's what it means to be institutionalized. Brooks depended on the walls, and when they disappeared, he discovered he no longer knew who he was without them. He got a job at a supermarket. He lived in a cheap boarding house. He tried to adapt. But every night he asked permission to go to the bathroom, to an empty room, because that was the only reality he knew. He carved "Brooks was here" into the wood before kicking the chair and hanging himself, because that was the only thing left. Proof that he existed. Proof that his life meant something. This is the death of hope. It's not dramatic. It's not sudden. It's you giving up so slowly, in such small pieces, that you don't realize you've already given up. Until one day you wake up and can no longer remember why it's worth continuing. Brooks is what happens when you let the world convince you that you weren't made for freedom. Now let's talk about Andy Dufresne. Andy is convicted of a crime he didn't commit. Double murder. His wife and her lover. Life imprisonment. 2 consecutive sentences. No possibility of parole. If anyone had the right to give up, it was him. But here's what most people don't realize about Andy. He was never an optimist. He never deluded himself into thinking he'd be set free by good behavior or that the truth would magically come to light. He was a banker. He lived on numbers, probabilities, facts. Andy knew he was screwed. But Andy was something far more dangerous than an optimist. He was hopeful. And the difference appears in the small actions, in the details that most prisoners consider irrelevant. He asks for a rock hammer, not to escape, not at first. He asks because carving stones, polishing minerals, creating something beautiful from the raw is something he enjoyed doing when he was free. It's a tiny act of preserving his identity. It's him saying, "You can imprison me, but you can't turn me into just a number." He asks for a poster of Rita Hayworth, then Marilyn Monroe, then Raquel Welch. Not because you need it, because it's a personal aesthetic choice, something the walls of Shawshank don't control. Do you see the pattern? Andy isn't waiting for freedom to come to him. He is practicing to be free within prison. When the sisters, a group of prisoners who sexually abuse newcomers, begin to attack him, Andy doesn't back down. He gets beaten, repeatedly, for 2 years. But he never stops resisting, because to give in would be to admit that they have power over who he is. And eventually, the sisters stop. Why? Because breaking Andy Dufresne would require killing him. And something about him, Some inner strength they can't touch makes it not worth it. But Andy's real masterstroke wasn't the escape, it was the library. For 6 years, Andy wrote a letter a week to the state of Maine requesting funds to improve the prison library. 6 years, every week. No response. Think about what that means. 6 years is 312 letters. 312 times you write something, put it in an envelope, and receive nothing back. 312 times you have to choose to keep going, even without seeing progress. Most of us would have given up after a month. Maybe 6 months if we were stubborn. A year if we were absolutely obstinate. Andy continued for 6 years because he understood something fundamental about hope. It's not a feeling. It's a practice. It's a discipline. It's doing the right thing, even when all the evidence suggests it's useless. And then, miraculously, the state sends $200 and some boxes of old books. Most people would have been satisfied. They would have said, "Mission accomplished." And what does Andy do? He starts writing 2 letters per week. I love this. Because it shows that Andy wasn't playing a short-term game. He wasn't trying to get some books. He was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. When he finally transforms that library into one of the best prison libraries in the Maine penitentiary system, with books, classical music CDs, educational resources, and high school equivalency programs, he doesn't do it for himself. He already had his escape plans underway. The library didn't directly benefit him. He did this because he understood that hope is not something you keep to yourself. It's something you spread. The library was a weapon. Every time a prisoner picked up a book and remembered that there was a world beyond those walls, Andy was winning. Every time someone studied for the GED and saw themselves as something more than just a criminal, Andy was planting a seed of hope. Because the greatest threat to any system of oppression, be it a prison, an authoritarian government, a toxic corporate culture, or any structure that wants to keep you in your place, is people who refuse to forget that there is another way to live. People who remember that they were made for more than just surviving. And that brings me to the most important scene in the film. The scene that defines everything. Andy is working in Principal Norton's office, processing documents related to the financial corruption the principal orchestrates using Andy as an accountant. He finds a vinyl record, Mozart's Le Nozze di Figaro, the opera The Marriage of Figaro. And Andy does something absolutely crazy. He locks the office door, he puts the record on the record player, and he broadcasts the opera over the loudspeakers throughout the prison. For 2.5 minutes, every man in Shawshank stops. The prisoners in the yard, the guys in the laundry, the guards, everyone. Red describes it this way. To this day, I have no idea what those 2 Italian women were singing. The truth is, I don't even want to know. Some things are better left unsaid. I like to think they were singing about something so beautiful that it can't be expressed in words, and it makes your heart ache because of that. And then he says something profound. I say to those who think it was just to make Andy feel big, you can call it whatever you want. For me, it was a beautiful, bright little place. God knows we needed it. But let me tell you what was really happening at that moment. Andy was proving something. He was proving that walls can control your bodies, but not your minds. That even in Shawshank, even in a place designed to crush everything human in you, beauty still exists. Transcendence still exists. There is still something greater than daily survival. That wasn't optimism. It was an act of war. Andy knew exactly what was going to happen. The guards were banging on the door, yelling at him to open it. He knew he was going to get 2 weeks of solitary confinement for it. 2 weeks in a dark cell the size of a closet, with only a hole in the floor and one tray of food a day. And he didn't care. And because some things are worth more than security. Some things are worth more than avoiding punishment. Sometimes you need to do something beautiful just because you can. Just to remind yourself and others that you're still human. Red asks him later, when he's out of solitary confinement, "Was it easy down there?" And Andy replies with one of the best lines in cinema, "I had Mr. Mozart to keep me company." Red is confused, but they took the record player away from you. And Andy points to his own head and then to his heart. Here and here. That's why they can't get here. Hope is a good thing, maybe the best thing. And good things never die. He didn't say he survived solitary confinement. He said that lived in solitary confinement because he had something that no warden, no guard, no concrete wall could take away. An inner life, a mental library full of Mozart, of memories, of hope. And that is true hope. It's not about believing that bad things won't happen. It's not about thinking that if you're a good person, the universe will reward you. That's the lie of optimism. Hope is knowing that bad things, it will happen. That you will suffer. That you will be punished. That the world is often unfair and cruel. And even so, even knowing this, you choose to keep something beautiful alive inside you. You choose to act like the person you want to be, not the person the system wants you to be. Brooks survived 50 years in Shawshank, but he didn't truly live a single day. He existed. He went through a routine, but his soul died long before his body. And he lived every day, even when he was being beaten, even when he was in solitary confinement, even when he knew he had at least 20 years left to live, because life isn't about your circumstances. It's about what you choose to do within them. But that's not really Andy's story, is it? This is Red's story. Red is our narrator. It is through his eyes that we see everything. It is his voice that guides the story. And Red is the perfect cynic. He's the guy who knows how things work, who can fix anything for a price, who's seen too much to be fooled by empty promises. When Andy first talks about hope, Red literally tells him, "Let me tell you something, my friend. Hope is a dangerous thing. Hope can drive a man mad. It's useless in here. You'd better get used to that idea." But Red is wrong. And deep down, I think he always knew it. For 40 years, Red has been wondering what he would do if he were free. And every time he goes to his parole hearing, and he goes many times, he plays a role. He says what they want to hear, that he's sorry, that he's a changed man, that he's no longer a threat to society. All lies. Empty words he learned to say. And every time, they deny his parole. Until finally, at his last hearing, after 40 years, Red stops pretending. He stops caring about what they want to hear. And he tells the truth. Regretful? I don't even know what that word means anymore. There are days when I try to imagine. I try to remember where things went wrong. But I can't. It was a long time ago. The boy who committed that crime has been dead for a long time. This old man sitting here, he's all that's left. And for the first time in 40 years, they set him free. But here's the catch. Red isn't free yet. Not really. Because freedom isn't about where you are. It's about what you carry inside you. Red gets a job at the same supermarket where Brooks worked. He lives in the same boarding house. He sits in the same room. He sleeps in the same bed. And he begins to understand exactly how Brooks felt. He has to ask permission to go to the bathroom at work, even though he knows he doesn't need to, because asking permission is the only thing he knows how to do. He looks at the wooden beam in the bedroom ceiling, the same beam where Brooks hanged himself, and thinks, it would be so easy. Red says something that gives me chills every time. I doubt they'd blame me. Parole violated. It's not that I'm a bad guy. It's just that I'm tired of being scared all the time. I decided I don't want to feel like this. I decided to do something stupid. Something Brooks did. And then, and this is crucial, he says, but I can't, because I promised Andy. Wait, Red will continue living, not because he wants to live, but because he made a promise. This is hope beginning. This is the seed that Andy planted. Red follows the instructions in Andy's letter. Go to Buxton. You find the hayfield. Find the stone wall. He finds the oak tree with a volcanic rock underneath that has no reason to be there. And he finds a metal box buried in the ground. Inside there is money, enough money to start a new life. And a letter. Dear Red, if you're reading this, it's because you're out there. And if you've made it this far, maybe you're willing to go a little further. Andy doesn't say, I hope you come. He says, if you've made it this far, because he knows that just getting to that rock was already an act of hope. Red had to choose to violate his parole. He had to choose to risk everything just to see if a friend's promise was real. And then, for the first time in his life, Red does something completely reckless. Something that makes no sense. Something that could send him back to prison for the rest of his life. He chooses hope. He buys a bus to Mexico. He goes after his friend. This is true liberation. Not when the prison doors open. Not when you receive your parole papers. But when you choose to believe that something better awaits you. Even without guarantees. Even at risk. Even when all the evidence suggests you should just keep your head down and survive. Red concludes by saying, I hope I can cross the border. I hope to see my friend and shake his hand. I hope the Pacific is as blue as in my dreams. I hope so. For the first time in the entire film, Red isn't being cynical. He's choosing hope. So, let's go back to the beginning. Is hope dangerous? Was Red right when he told Andy that? Yes, but not in the way he thought. Hope is dangerous for control systems. It's dangerous for dictators. It's dangerous for abusive bosses. It's dangerous for anyone or anything that wants you to accept that this is how things are, and you'd better get used to it. Because hope is subversive. Hope is revolutionary. Hope says, no, I deserve more than this, and I will work to get it. Brooks lost because he stopped believing that change was possible. He let the walls win. He internalized the prison so deeply that when the physical walls disappeared, the mental walls remained. He no longer knew who he was without them. And he won because he treated hope as a discipline. Every day, he chose to act like a free man, even while imprisoned. Every day, he worked toward a future he didn't even know if he would see. He polished stones. He wrote letters. He built libraries. He played opera. He dug a tunnel with a trowel for 19 years. 19 years old. Most of us can't stick to a diet for 19 days. And Red? Red is us. He's the cynic who wants to give up, who's seen too many things go wrong to believe that things can go right, who's learned that it's safer not to have hope because then you can't be disappointed. But in the end, even the most hardened cynic can choose hope, can choose risk, can choose to live instead of merely surviving. Because hope isn't about naivete. It's not about believing that everything will turn out all right. It's not about foolish optimism. Hope is about refusing to let circumstances define who you are. It's about looking at the worst that life can offer. Injustice, suffering, stolen years, shattered dreams, and still choosing to do something beautiful, choosing to build something, choosing to be more than just a product of your circumstances. Get busy living or get busy dying. There is no third option. There is no such thing as simply existing. Because if you are not living, if you are not actively choosing to create meaning, purpose, and beauty in your life, then you are already dying, just too slowly to realize it. Red ends his narration by saying, "I hope I can cross the border. I hope to see my friend and shake his hand. I hope so." I love this line. Because for the first time in the entire film, after 50 years of being a professional cynic, Red is choosing hope. He's choosing to believe in something without guarantees. And the camera shows Andy on a beach in Mexico, restoring an old boat, preparing it for a new life. But let me ask you something before we leave. Where are the walls in your life? What invisible walls have you built around what is possible? What dreams have you buried because someone convinced you they were unrealistic? And most importantly, when are you going to grab your trowel and start digging? Because nobody will do it for you. Nobody will open the doors. The only person who can set you free is you. Until the next journey.